This video is going to cover how to solve a system of equations on your graphing calculator. So I've got two systems here, one in blue, one in red, and I'm going to go ahead and enter the first one in blue. So if you recall from the main screen after you turn on your calculator, what we want to press is right here, the y equals button, so that we can get these two equations into our y1 and our y2. Okay, recall the negative sign and the minus sign are two different buttons on your graphing calculators. Just make sure you're aware that the minus sign is over here in the right column and then the negative sign is down here in the last row. Okay. I want to go ahead and find the zoom button, and I want to go ahead and press zoom 6, a standard window. It's useful in a lot of situations. A standard window gives you a span of -10 to 10 in your horizontal as well as -10 to 10 in your vertical. Just keep in mind that this screen on your calculator is not a square, so the scale on your horizontal axis will be a little wider than it will be on your vertical axis. Alright, so clearly the lines intersect, and if I had to guess, I would say that it looks like one notch mark over in the x and one notch mark down in the y. So that would be a guess of 1, -1. If you think you know what the answer is, or at least ballpark what the answer is, one way that you can solve the system is to kind of check your table of values. Now, how do you set up a table of values? Well, first thing you want to do is go to your table set, which if you see here, I'm circling around the window button, and above window it says TBL set, table set. So if you press second, then the window button, you'll get your table set up. And a table start of 1, or oftentimes I'll put 0, is often a good place to start. And then this symbol here, a delta symbol, the little triangle, that means change in. You know that from the slope equation. What do you want your x values to change by? Okay, well, integers are fine for us right now, so we're going to leave it at 1. And in this instance, you want both your independent and dependent variables to be on auto. Once you've set up your table like this, you're going to press the second button again. And this time I actually want to see the table. So if you look on the upper right here where I'm circling, above the graph button it says table, so we're going to press that. And here we go. Now what we're looking for is the place where these two lines intersect. Now these two lines intersect at the same ordered pair. So there's only going to be one column of x values, there's going to be two columns of y values. You're looking for the match. And sure enough, our guess was right. If you look, both y1 and y2 are the same value when x equals 1. So that means 1, -1 works for the first line and 1, -1 works for the second line. That is not the case anywhere else. If you kind of scroll up and down, let me get back to my x value here. If you scroll up and down looking at the y values, they do not match at any other point except at x equals 1. So there's our answer, 1, -1. I'll write that down. But here's the thing. Your answer is not always going to be a nice integer pair like this. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and put in the second system here. I cleared out my y1, y2, and I'm going to put in 2x minus 4 for y1 and 1/3 x plus 5 in my y2. And I'll graph those two. Okay. So clearly I see their intersection point. Whoop. Let's get that back. And I can estimate that it looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe somewhere between 5 and 6. So let's go check out the table and see if we can figure out the answer. Alright, I go down to 5, and I'm hoping for a match on the y columns for x equals 5. And although the two values are close, they are not the same. 6 and 6.66 6 2/3 not the same. And I look in the vicinity, I don't see anything that's exactly the same. So that means they don't intersect at an integer ordered pair. So I'm going to have to get my calculator to do a little bit more work for me. So there is a function called intersect on your calculator. This is the way that you access it. You're going to press the second button again, okay? And you can see that I've pressed it by that little upward pointing arrow in the upper right of our screen. And this time I'm going to find the trace button. Down here is the trace button, and above that you see calculate. So I'd like to calculate something, and the something I'd like to calculate is the intersection point of these two lines. So I'm going to scroll down to number 5, and I'm going to press enter. Or you could just press 5, and then there's no need to press enter. Okay. All right, you're going to get a couple prompts here. 3 prompts actually. First curve, second curve, and guess. Okay, the first curve, calculator, if you notice up here in the upper left, you're on your Y1, you're on your first line. The calculator would like you to guess. Get as close to the intersection point as you can on the first curve. So you use your left and right arrow keys to do that. Now it appears that I've gotten as close as I possibly can. So I'm going to go ahead and press enter and enter that as my guess on my first line. Now notice I pressed enter, and now up here I've been bumped to my Y2. Now I'm on my second line, and you can kind of hit your left and right arrow keys to experiment with that. But here's the thing, it got me awfully close to my intersection point. So I'm going to go right back to where it left me and press enter again there. That looks like pretty close to the intersection point. And then finally it's going to ask you for a guess. Okay, I typically just press enter one more time. On 2 lines, we've done a really good job of getting as close as we can to the intersection point, so it's not too necessary to be picky here. Just press enter one more time. Okay, and there we go. My intersection point is 5.4 and 6.8. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and write that down. 5.4 and 6.8. Now suppose you go to the back of your textbook to check your answer to the system, and they have reported the answer as an improper fraction. And now clearly you're all able to change improper fractions to mixed numbers and then decimals, but say you just wanted to check really quickly. Okay. You might not be aware on your calculator you can change decimals to fractions and fractions to decimals pretty easily. So I'm going to enter that 5.4. And then I'm going to go to the math button, which is in the upper left column here, math. And I would like to change that decimal to a fraction. So I'm going to press enter on number 1, which says FRAC, fraction. Okay. 27/5. And let's do it with 6.8, math, fraction, and 34/5. So you could very easily check your answer. And if for some reason you had the improper fraction and you wanted to quickly change it to a decimal, we can have 34/5 and just press that and it'll change it to a decimal. If you wanted to force it in the math menu, you might have noticed DEC will change to decimal. Hope that's helpful.